So, wir kommen zurück aus der Mittagspause, aus der ersten Kaffeepause. Wir werden jetzt nach der inspirierenden Keynote, werden wir uns jetzt versuchen, näher an die Praxis ranzumachen, nochmal dahingehend, dass wir uns Best Practices anschauen. Wir haben dazu ein sehr, sehr großes Panel mit insgesamt 5 Vorträgen, und die wir in ungefähr 7 bis 8 Minuten durchführen werden. Und danach wollen wir noch in einer Panel-Diskussion ein bisschen tiefer einsteigen, was sind denn im Moment die Erfolgsfaktoren bei Data-Driven Display. Da wir mehrere Kollegen in englischer Sprache da haben und wirklich eine lebhafte Diskussion haben wollen, werden wir ein gemischtes Panel haben, was die Sprache angeht. Das heißt, wir haben englische und deutsche Präsentationen und werden die Panel-Diskussion im Anschluss in englischer Sprache führen. Nur das als Redaktionsthema. Dann bitte ich jetzt mal die Panelisten nach oben. Wir werden alle gleich mal aufrufen. Wir starten mit Stefan Beckmann von Infectious Media, Christie von B-Sky, Oliver Hülse von Rocket Fuel, Rupert Tonn, Geschäftsführer von YD Berlin, Arjan Grootveld von KLM, Siamac Rahnavard von GDM Digital, Oliver Busch von Spree 7. Damit müsste unser Panel vollständig sein. So, very welcome. I would like to ask, some applause for the panel. I would like to ask Infectious Media to start with the presentation, and Oliver, Stefan, it's up to you. Yeah.
Ja, vielen Dank. Ja, mein Name ist Stefan Beckmann. Ich bin Country Manager Dach bei Infectious Media. Infectious Media ist ein vor 4 Jahren gegründetes Trading Desk aus London. Heute sind wir etwa 50 Mitarbeiter an 3 Standorten, London, Paris und Hamburg, wo wir RTB-Kampagnen für Kunden, das sind sowohl Direktkunden als auch Agenturen, umsetzen. Und einer dieser Kunden ist heute hier, der Ihnen einen kurzen Einblick in die Arbeit geben wird, die wir inzwischen so seit 3 Jahren gemeinsam machen. Christie von Sky, all yours.
Thank you, Stefan. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me over in Germany with you. It's a pleasure to be here, and apologies that the presentation's in English. It's partly out of protest for the result for Bayern Munich and Arsenal last night, so that's a bit of payback. So I've come over from Sky, from UK, in the online marketing team over there, and I look after display marketing. So my role back in England is to take a budget of around £15 million a year in the display space and translate that into new customer acquisition and cross-selling and upselling to existing customers. So what I'd like to do today is give you a real example from what we've done in London of how we've embraced data-driven marketing and made it central to everything we do. It's been a real change in how we've approached display marketing, so hopefully you'll get some insight in that today. So if we take a step back, in 2006, Sky made a promise to the city. As a business, our objective was to hit 10 million customers by the end of 2010. So for context, there's 27 million homes in the UK. We wanted to get over a third of those signed up to Sky TV. That was our goal. And we need to do that by the end of 2010. The way we approached it from an online marketing perspective, and especially display, was very similar to the way you would approach a press buy in your newspaper. So we would buy audiences through title-based buys. We'd go to the Yahoos, the AOLs, the MSNs. We'd run a lot of network activity. We'd basically have a broadcast message out there, and our single focus really was Sky Television. That approach of broad scale and blanket worked for us. So in November 2010, we actually achieved our goal. We hit that 10 million customer base. So I joined in April 2010, so I was party to that last part, and I'd seen that last push. And I'd basically come from a background of networks and basically the publisher side. So I'd worked for a company called advertising.com. When we hit this goal in 2010, our CEO went out to the city and said, this is great, we're really proud of our achievement, but it doesn't stop there. And just as we were all breathing a sigh of relief because we thought the workload might relinquish a little bit, actually he made the following statement. And he basically said, we are now going to focus on selling more products to our customer base. We're going to take that 10 million customers, we're going to sell more products to them, and we're actually going to make them stickier so they stay with us for longer and we reduce churn. Now that was a fundamental challenge to us. That was an absolute shift in the way we'd approached our marketing as a business. We've gone from broadcast blanket of one product to a segmentation approach. And we took a step back and we looked at what was going on in the market, and that was the point where we really started to embrace data. And we made a couple of key things to try and help us get there. We looked at our digital roster, we looked at our agencies across PPC, affiliates, and display, and we made a few changes. We looked to work with the agencies who were best set up to handle data and to use data and technology. We actually merged teams, so we took my team in acquisition that was after new customers, and we merged it with the existing customer team, so we all sat in the same place, and we all had the same focus, and that fell under me. And we also started to work with trading desks like Infectious. It was at that point that we really wanted to embrace the technology and work with these forward-thinking partners. So the way we approach display from start to finish, from a prospecting perspective, is we have a number of different messages or products that we can put in front of a user. And what we try to do is elicit a response from that consumer and take them into our sales funnel and convert them. So we show them a message. We then take them to a landing page that is relevant to the message that they've seen. We want to make sure that that journey is congruent, it's aligned, and we're telling a story. And if we get that part right, we hopefully turn a prospect into a customer. Now, this is the part that was really important, because there's a hell of a lot of data that goes on behind the scenes to make that happen. Messaging is one, the media buyer is another, but also you've got things like geography, the time of day, the day of week, all these optimization points. And previously, when we'd worked with blind networks and through titles buys, we didn't have access to that data. By working with a trading desk and using RTB and programmatic buying, we actually reclaimed that insight back. We were able to see what happened to that consumer to turn them into a customer. We had an understanding of how they behaved. The next point was very key. So we also needed to make this dialogue two-way. We got an understanding from the trading desk as to what worked well, but we gave them some insight back. We told Infectious what our customer took at that point of sale, what they had in their basket. So for this example, we might have a Sky Television customer who also bought broadband and also bought Sky Movies, but they didn't buy Sky Sports and they didn't buy HD. So there's a hole in their portfolio. This is the opportunity for us to go and cross-sell and upsell. So it was noted at this point by Infectious that this customer's got a hole. We then know who that person is from cookie targeting. The next step was to try and understand what messages we need to put in front of them. And I don't think you can quite see this because of the lighting, but essentially we've got an ad in the top left-hand corner that is very focused on fixture-based creative. So saying tonight you could watch Milan versus Barcelona, for example. We're trying to elicit response based on the fixture. On the top right-hand quadrant, you've got the range of sports messages. You're a Sky TV customer, you haven't got Sky Sports, here's the range of sports that you're missing out on. Or in the bottom left quadrant, we know that there are some people that are thinking about it, not quite ready to buy, but if we give them an offer to convert them, then that's going to be the tipping point that puts them over the edge. And in the bottom right-hand corner, we call this the narrative creative. So it's basically saying to a Sky customer, you love your sport, it's not just about the game, here's all the story and the backstory behind it that makes Sky Sports such a fantastic proposition. And we will do testing in this space to understand which of the right messages is right to go to the user. And we're building on that matrix, we're building on that understanding of what a consumer does. And this really is the fruits of that labor. This is a really important slide because it looks like any other display buy that you would run. But actually behind the scenes is where all the important stuff has happened. So we've identified the right person through cookie targeting and understanding that this person is a Sky customer, but they haven't got Sky Sports. We've bought a piece of media that is relevant to that audience group. It's relevant to where they are and what they're interested in. And we've also put an advert in there that really speaks to them and talks to them about what we're looking to achieve. So it's right person, right message, right time. Then we take that a step further, and we take them to the landing page that is relevant to the content that they've just seen. And rather than the prospect landing page, which is a shop, which is exactly that, you can browse different products, this landing page is supposed to reaffirm and keep streamlined down the process of what we're trying to achieve, which is a customer upsell to sports. So if we take a moment to think back about that challenge we were set in 2010 about cross-selling and upselling to existing customers, If we were to approach that in the same way that we would have done to acquire our 10 million customers of just broadcast and blanket, we would have had to buy a lot of media in the hope that we were targeting the right person. We'd have to put a lot of messages out there to hope that we were giving them the right message. And all of this would have been done on the assumption that we hope that they convert. All of this data is then fed back in. We can now tick this person off, and if we've done our job properly, they've become a Sky Sports customer. This means we can take them out of our marketing mix. We can no longer target them with an upgrade message or a prospect message. It means that we're reducing wastage at every step. So hopefully you've got an understanding from that journey of how we've taken it from broadcast to data-driven to segmented approach. And what have we seen? So the actual results from running this from over the last couple of years and being forward-thinking is that we've actually reduced our CPA target by 16%. We've seen effectively 0% wastage because we've not shown any ads to people that weren't ready to see those ads or in market for those ads. And we've actually seen a 15% growth year on year on the number of sports upgrades. Now, sports is just one example that I've taken you through today. For each category, broadband, movies, HD, the same thing has been applied, and we've used the same principle. The key to this success really was aligning all of our data partners and all of the people that we work with in this space. So as I said, we changed agencies to MediaCom. We embraced Infectious technology, Infectious Media and their approach to the space, and we set a clear direction ourselves from Sky about what we wanted to achieve. It's fundamental that these partners worked together and made it happen for us. And the future for us really is to take what we've done, move it forward. We've seen a lot of interest and demand to our sites from mobile and tablet devices. Therefore, we need to take this forward and tally up all of that. We've been looking at cross-device tracking to understand how users are interacting across the different tablets and the different mediums. And what we're trying to understand is a universal view so that we've got right message, right person, right time, and on the right platform. So that's it from me. Thank you for your time.
Joel, thank you very much. Very interesting insights. I really liked how you had several creatives to increase performance as well. I think that will be a discussion we'll have later on. What are the key drivers for success? Next, Oliver Hülse from Rocket Fuel will give us another example from the fashion industry. Oliver, just go for it.
Thank you. Well, I just brought one client with me, which is Conley's. Conley is a very traditional catalog-driven retail company who just stepped into the digital business. So what they came up is like, okay, we run a very successful catalog business, and we do have some search activities here and to retarget us, but to be honest, seems that they are not driving enough traffic into our site, so conversion number is very low, and even the thought CPO is massive above the expected target. So we just went to them to talk to them and asked them, you know, what you're looking for. So and what they were looking for is really new prospects, so new clients. They just want to feed the sales funnel, but the mid-side of the sales funnel. So we are not responsible for any branding. Even we would love to deliver also branding, but we were just asked, feed the mid-size part of the sales funnel and please, you know, drive the conversions into it. So we had the targets, new prospects, lookalike modeling, and at the same time achieve all these targets, but on a given return of investment target. So it shouldn't be like X plus just because they're new clients. How we did that? So, you know, we just see ourselves as rocket fuel between the advertiser and, you know, all these sell-side platform exchanges, private exchanges, so to say, like all the traffic that there is. And we didn't go through 145 that year and 21 million sites and 31 billion ad impressions on a daily basis, because that campaign was just related to the German market. So we just went through more or less 1.3 billion ad impressions on a daily basis to look if we can find a lookalike modeling client for Conley's, but even on the laptop, on a mobile device, on the Facebook exchange, on even ever given device or traffic marketplace. Different to our approach or to some others is the way that we're setting up campaigns with one single line item. So the left-hand side is the way that most companies behave, like they set up demos, they set up audience, contextual retargeting and all that stuff. What we do is, no, we set up one line item, we set up the goal, and there's artificial intelligence who is going to decide what kind of targeting is responsible to get to the target, to the set target by the client. So at the end, that's the road that we need to hit. And what happened? We found out during that way, and that's quite similar to the Sky example. Some parts of Germany worked well. Sometimes some parts of Germany didn't work so well for the client Conlays. Why? Maybe because there was no enough kind of catalog penetration. Maybe the pre-marketing to it wasn't good enough. Anyway, we just found out that even there are great states who might convert better but less habitants. So we also had to take larger states with more habitants, lower conversion into consideration to overall hit the target, because there was a harsh target also on not on only on the CPO, also on the number of clients they want to get. We also found out, there's just a certain age which is responsive for a catalog-driven company like Conlays with very, very expensive stuff. The ad size, we found out that in this case, which was a bit surprising, because we thought that we might find more and more also on the Facebook exchange, but we couldn't. It was a standard ad unit. It's not visible here, but it was the 160 times 60 which performed best. Doesn't mean that the others didn't perform at all, but currently that chart is just showing that this is the best performing ad size. Day of week, very important. So when do I need to attract a client? When is he buying? So that's the way also, a self-learning system is measuring and is delivering ads. Time of day, is the question. You might attract a user via mobile phone early in the morning. He might not convert. Returning that client, or if the client is returning in the afternoon, it might be much more receptive also to convert. Content, most of us might argue, it's always about the content as well, but there might be some areas where clients might even convert better, but overall content is just one part of the overall targeting and to make a campaign successful. And nevertheless, is obvious, even you have a harsh CPO target, the client was also looking for a certain CPC, and something that we can say is that we started very low, but at the end we overachieved these targets by 50%. So overall, we achieved the number of given sales, also the huge number of new prospects. Point is here, we didn't hit the pure retargeting CPO due to the reason that we just feeded that sales funnel, and at the end there were, at the down of the sales funnels, there's much more competitors. So in this case, we couldn't convert each prospect immediately into a client, but we feeded the retargeters, which got even a lower CPO then. But we convinced the client that that's the right way to continue with us. Something that we missed, and that's very important because that's really cross-channel and upselling, is even that's a huge holding company, and I'm not talking about third-party data, I'm talking about first-party data, so to say. They have Schneider as a retail company, they have Discovery, they have Conlay. So ideally, we would have loved to come up with a few charts showing them someone who bought that expensive pair of shoes, also bought that furniture at your Discovery channel, and bought as well, I don't know, a ball pen at Schneider, so that they might detect also where the clients are, how they look like, and even optimize out of home every other marketing channel that they're running at the moment. So that's more or less the case that I want to present.
So thank you very much, Oliver. After this presentation, we will add another aspect with the next case. Not only do we add another industry after looking at subscription business and e-commerce, we will now go into the airline industry. We will also have another goal set. Within the next case, it's not only about driving sales, of course that's an important part, but there's also a branding component, and Rupert and Arjan will show us how they solve this problem.
Hello everybody, can you hear me? Right, where's our presentation? How can I go back? Okay, so sorry about that mishap. I'm Rupert, I'm the MD of YD in Berlin, and I'm from YD in Berlin, and I'd like to give over the microphone to Arjan now, quickly introducing himself.
Yeah, thank you. I'm Arjan Grootveld, working for 5 years in KLM, 2 years in the online marketing department, and currently focusing on display advertising. All right.
So we're going to walk you through a quick agenda, which is basically the campaign goals of KLM. We've been working with them for 3 years. Basically the display strategy for 2013, some of our solutions, and then the hot topic, the results, what we've actually achieved for them through programmatic buying. So Arjan, it's over to you again.
All right. Thank you. So of course we run multiple campaigns. But why is display so important for us? Of course, we're a global brand, and in the Netherlands we're well known. In Germany also, I think. But we also advertise in countries like Korea, China, Brazil. And you know, we need to push our brand because there's so much competition. Competition is really fierce. It's other airlines which are the problem for us, of course. But also travel agencies which are really, you know, competitive. They are different shops, basically. So we do three things. Because I'm part of a sales department, I mainly focus on ROI, so retargeting users to make sure that they convert. This has been the traditional focus. We also invest money in finding new audience. And finally, we do a bit of branding as well. Yeah, can you move the slide? All right, so if you look at 2013, of course this is still the focus. I'm working in a sales department, but what we have seen last year is that we allowed networks to retarget our traffic. But what happened? We gave all these networks a pixel on our website. You know, and we said, okay, well, you can do a bit of spreading and you can do a bit of retargeting. But we give you very, you know, difficult sales targets. So what happened? They all put all their money on retargeting. The result is fantastic numbers, of course, but also we know that there's a maximum to that. We also want to put some money on spreading in order to make the retargeting more effective. And that's what we're going to do. But of course, I have to explain my managers, okay, you know, we are moving away money from this super efficient retargeting process to spreading, you know, finding new users. And that's, you know, has to land in the organization. So that's a challenge for me. And in the end, what we would need is a very good attribution model, so we could actually show what the real value is of display marketing. And currently, we're working on that. Second bullet, transparency. I'm here as an advertiser, and for us, we invest significant amounts in display, but we don't see what's happening. You know, we don't know what the bidding strategies are, and that is because, you know, we have multiple layers. You know, we have a media agency, and we have trading desks. Also, you know, we don't know what happens, you know, in terms of markup on every step in the process. So that's, let's say, in terms of transparency, we want to move to you know, more like dashboards and also more direct relations with the supplier. Third bullet is that, you know, we have been running the same creators for a long time. We saw some very nice creative just a minute ago. I think in the end, if you, especially with retargeting with high frequencies, if you use the same banners over and over and over, yeah, it causes banner blindness, and at a certain point, people don't see the banner anymore. And the last point is that we need to connect our data. Data is always a big topic. And we have a lot of data, but it's very complex data about offer and demand. Currently, we're putting the same amount of money on retargeting a Barcelona flight as a Kuala Lumpur flight. But it could be that the Barcelona flight is empty and the Kuala Lumpur flight is full. So we should actually move all the money from the Kuala Lumpur flight and retargeting the Barcelona flight. So that's what we're going to do this year. I think that's it for this slide. Huh?
Yes, yes. So it's me again. So it's a little bit like the Blues Brothers here. So basically, from our perspective, it's like, how do we solve the problem of KLM? And it's like data-driven display, RTB, I think these are all sort of like big words going around. And it's like, in order to have a successful campaign, you need technology, preferably in-house. You need to interpret data. You need competence, and in the end, the performance. And so how do we approach a campaign? So very traditional models like AIDA become very important again, because it's like what Arjan said, if you only do retargeting, you're basically talking always to the same people. So you have to bring fresh people into the funnel. So we actually use a holistic approach in order to deliver new audiences. We're already very active in bringing third-party data into the campaigns for KLM and actually showing excellent results. So the factors are basically 4 key factors. So you have to do proper pre- and retargeting and find the right audiences. Then you have to have global reach. You have to have access to global reach. Companies like us, we buy via the classical SSPs, but we also do direct buys in order to mix that into the campaign. And then obviously is to interpret all the data. So that comes where competence comes in. So the campaign analyst is extremely important as an interface to the customer to actually interpret that data and act on behalf of that data. And then last but not least, the advertisers also need to know their 4 Ps. They have to have a product proposition, and they have to convey this product proposition or service proposition in their ads, in their creative. So these factors together basically make up a successful campaign. So we come to the campaign setup now of KLM. Also very simple, or not simple, it's a global retargeting campaign. So what Arjan already mentioned, it's not only in Europe, but it's also all over the world. So that's quite a challenge in terms of also getting all the right creatives. So you can see here below just 3 languages. We actually do more than 3 languages. So the setup of this is already highly sophisticated. And then basically bringing in new audience. So we're using there the big DMPs in order to actually mix third-party data into the campaign, but also we do classical media buys. And the performance goal is in the end an eCPA. Because it's like a flight to London has a different price than a long-haul flight to Kuala Lumpur. So I now give over to Arjan again because to read out the results.
All right, so these are the results basically of retargeting people who have actually searched for a flight. For instance, well, we saw San Francisco in the previous sample, so we show, of course, a nice San Francisco image, the city name in the local language, and the correct price, which is coming from a live data feed. Because we know if the price is not correct, in the end the people are not going to convert. They're either disappointed or they don't click. And if you compare it to, let's say, classical homepage retargeting, we see that the CTR is 3 times as high as we see there, which is great, because I believe more in clicks than I do in views. Also, the conversions, the total conversions we make in the display channel, 20% of that comes from these campaigns, but we only have for 15% of the budget. So it's great, let's say, it's very efficient. And the third real great result that we achieved with a lot of effort, I think, from YD, is that we retarget now over 200,000 routes because we have all these destinations times each other. And we do that globally. And that turns out to be really effective. So I'm really happy with that. Yeah.
We'd like to hear that, of course. So I come to the final bit. It's like, where do we think that RTB is heading? We actually call this lady Antje, you know, so to have a dig at the Dutch. But it's like, we don't know, but we basically think that RTB is gaining maturity. It's entering the mainstream, but it's obviously varying by country. So also a lot of it depends on the inventory quality. Again, there are differences per market. In Germany, we observe progress. We've observed massive progress in France with big alliances like Orange Media and Audience Square, so where there's a lot of premium inventory actually aggregated. Alongside the inventory also goes the ad formats. At the moment we're doing IAB standards, so I think we're going to see homepage takeovers, which are already possible in some markets, i.e. the Netherlands. So the market is a lot further, and I think in the UK also. So it's like the developments in Europe are not linear. Then I think it was already mentioned cross-device campaigns. So basically advertisers need to have an all-screen presence in order to pick up the customer wherever he is choosing to make a buying decision. Then using more data points, I think Arjan already mentioned that. Homepage retargeting is not enough, you need to get deeper into the funnel. All advertisers are always looking for new customers. Sometimes they are actually within their own data, i.e. CRM. So the marriage of impression and CRM, I think, is a very important future development. Then insights and transparency. I think to actually deliver the proper reporting, I think Arjan already mentioned it, is like he wants to know, what did it actually cost? What did I actually get for it? And so there are developments in this direction also from our company to actually make that all open via a dashboard so they can see every euro spent where it went. Then I think we're living in a time also where we see large successful brands not only advertising on the online channel, but I think we need to have an overall approach. I think if a company does a lot of TV or print, I think this should be integrated in the online strategy as well, because in the end the website is a POS and you have to bring a lot of fresh customers in. Then the last point, I think we're living in the time of big data. I think a lot of advertisers don't know yet what this big data means. I think we to some extent don't know that yet either, but it's happening. You can say that the companies who don't know their data don't know their customers. So one asks, how much longer are they going to be alive? Also, I think data exclusivity is very important, that the advertiser knows that his service provider doesn't give this data to somebody else. And I think another point Arjan makes is to work with 10 retargeting companies in expecting then 10 times the amount of sales. I think that theory or that formula doesn't work. So that is basically our look into the future. It's very pragmatic, but we are very confident that RTB is going to develop further, and it's going to be, I think in 5 years' time when you talk to a media planner and you say RTB, he's saying, what's that? You know, we've done that for years. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, especially for the last slide. It will be a very interesting introduction into our discussion. We'll now look at a totally different brand. The company is called Rosenmehl, and I did not know it. I just Googled it a little bit. It's a very traditional company, 100 years old. And just give us an example how you helped them with RTB.
Okay, thank you. Nice to be here. Mein Name ist Siamac Rahnavard. Ich werde das Ganze jetzt auf Deutsch durchführen, weil auch mein Produkt ziemlich deutsch ist. Und wir uns quasi mit GDM Digital seit 2012, sprich letzten März, dem deutschen Markt zugewandt haben. Und sprich Deutschland, Österreich und die Schweiz. Und hier halt eben Sachen aus dem englischen Raum, die im englischen Raum wunderbar funktioniert haben, Targeting-Funktionen etc. in den deutschsprachigen Raum eingeführt haben. Nach einigen Monaten feststellen mussten, dass ja doch einige Sachen eben nicht funktionieren. Warum? Also hauptsächlich eben der Tatsache geschuldet, dass wir eben gewisse Datenschutzrestriktionen haben, die einfach verhindern, dass man eben zum Beispiel aufs Third-Party-Data zugreift. Dementsprechend beispielsweise Sachen wie semantisches Targeting etc. wurden von uns weiterentwickelt und halt eben auch vor allem der Aspekt, Kunden langfristig zu entwickeln, sprich eigene Daten für sie aufzubauen und diese permanent auszubauen in Zusammenarbeit mit allen anderen Marketingkanälen, die für eine Kampagne genutzt werden können. Wir sitzen quasi über allen gängigen DSPs und schauen halt, dass wir entsprechend des Marktes die DSP nutzen, die eben am besten funktioniert und wie ich gerade sagte, nicht nur Deutschland, sondern Österreich und die Schweiz auch und nicht jede DSP ist einfach für jeden Markt anwendbar, weil hier Möglichkeiten gegeben sind, irgendwelche Targeting-Technologien zu integrieren, diese Technologien für den jeweiligen Markt noch weiter auszubauen und letztendlich SSPs oder verschiedene Publisher anzuschließen, um das Inventar zu nutzen. In der Vergangenheit das Data-Driven Marketplace, wie wurden dort Daten erfasst? Es war alles ziemlich langwierig. Studenten wurden losgeschickt, um irgendwelche Daten zu erfassen, irgendwelche Entscheidungen auf Produktebene hatten ein gewisses Impact. Heutzutage ist es halt so, dass wir die Informationen real-time erfahren, heißt, dass wir permanente Reaktionen des Users erfahren, ob es jetzt auf Facebook ist, wenn da irgendwas diskutiert wird, ob wir halt über Amazon recht zügig auf einen User reagieren können. Wir erfassen ihn bei unseren Produkten im CRM, können auf diese Art und Weise mit dem User arbeiten und halt diese Daten, die man halt im quasi First-Party-Data-Bereich erfasst, nutzen. Und letztendlich ermöglicht es uns als ATB-Dienstleister automatisiert Bidding zu betreiben auf die Werbeflächen, die letztendlich für diesen User matchen, entweder in Zusammenarbeit mit ATB oder eben halt mit Retargeting oder halt eben mit irgendwelchen Conversion-Pixels, die in der Website verbaut sind, etc. Und das ist letztendlich der Case, auf den ich hinaus möchte. Es handelt sich hier um die Firma Rosenmehl. Rosenmehl ist halt ein Kochbuch. Was war die Idee hier? Man hat über mehrere Monate, praktisch ein Jahr, sämtliche Rezepte erfasst, die von irgendwelchen Haushalten etc. vorhanden war, daraus ein Kochbuch gemacht und dieses Kochbuch sollte letztendlich nur in Bayern beworben werden. Also entsprechend des Marktes muss man sich schon gewisse Gedanken machen. Es war halt nicht nur Zielsetzung, dass wir einfach nur Performance erzeugen, sondern dass auch ein gewisser Awareness-Faktor bei diesem Produkt sichergestellt werden hieß, dass wir die Werbung nicht nur irgendwo auf der Website ausliefern, sondern permanent sicherstellen müssen, dass die Werbung auch gesehen wird. Weil im Gegensatz zu TV oder Radio, wenn ich diese Werbung nicht sehe, dann wird sie nicht wahrgenommen, ergo kein Werbeeffekt für das Produkt. Wir hatten eine Kampagnenlaufzeit von 3 Monaten und der maximale CPM war in diesem Fall 8 €. Warum 8 €? Um halt letztendlich die Placements ersteigern zu können, die für dieses Produkt von Relevanz sind. Und das ist halt auch ein Punkt, den ich gerne hervorheben möchte. Deswegen, wenn wir über ATB sprechen, dass wir das nicht mit irgendwelchen Netzwerkbuchungen verwechseln dürfen, wo man möglicherweise mit einem fixen, niedrigen CPM oder CPC ansetzen kann und dann permanent Performance erzielt, sondern hier muss man eine gewisse Range schaffen, um halt letztendlich die vernünftigen Platzierungen zu ersteigern. Und auch die Publisher wollen irgendwo was an ihren Seiten oder mit ihren Seiten verdienen und wenn ich quasi 0 investiere, kann ich auch nichts dafür erwarten hinten raus. Und das Thema zum Beispiel DE-Traffic, der für dieses Produkt besonders wichtig war, den kriege ich nur, wenn ich vernünftig letztendlich eine Bidding-Strategie dahinter habe, in diesem Fall mit einem vernünftigen CPM. Der Ziel-CPA war in dem Fall 15 €, den wir realisieren sollten, Wunsch des Kunden, der in irgendeiner Form mit dem Produktpreis insgesamt gematcht wurde und als Targeting eben das Geo-Targeting in Form von regionalem Targeting mit einem Fokus auf eben Bayern. Dann haben wir quasi kontextbezogen gewisse Channels ausgesucht, die zum Thema Frauen, Familie, haushaltsführende Personen, Finanzentscheider im Haushalt passen. Wir haben gewisse Seitz hier ausgewählt, weil eben dieser Punkt Awareness nochmal für den Kunden sehr wichtig war, sich auf speziellen Seiten im deutschsprachigen Raum zu sehen, im bayerischen Raum zu sehen. Er hat eine gewisse Auswahl, es wird halt geprüft, sind diese Seiten über ATB verfügbar oder eben nicht und nach Möglichkeit werden diese Seiten nochmal explizit belegt. Im Bestfall ist es sogar möglich, auf diesen Seiten noch die Performance zu erzielen, die der Kunde sich dort verspricht und das konnte hier auch dann auch sichergestellt werden, größtenteils. Demografische Werte entsprechend der Möglichkeit Möglichkeiten, die von den Publishern zur Verfügung gestellt werden, weil hier muss man auch nochmal hervorheben, dass die meisten Publisher sich selber klassifizieren und nur sehr wenige machen wirklich eine Verifikation ihrer User. Heißt, wenn ich sage, ich habe die Zielgruppe von bis, dann ist es bei den meisten Publishern einfach nur eine Mutmaßung, aber belegen können es halt nur die wenigsten Portale, indem sie halt irgendwo ein Login haben oder Beispiel eBay, die wirklich eine Schufa-Verifikation machen und nachweisen können, dass der User XY wirklich der ist, der da vorhanden ist. Das Semantische-Targeting. Das Semantische-Targeting hat sich hier aus gewissen Keywords, die zum Produkt gepasst haben, beziehungsweise zur Zielgruppe gepasst haben, zusammengesetzt, sodass wir halt sehr nah an den Content kommen, der zu diesem Produkt passt. Das heißt, dass eine Website zum Beispiel von der Frau Gisela Schön, 45, wohnhaft in Bayern, irgendwo in Innsbruck, letztendlich getargetet werden kann, weil sie letztendlich da auf einer wer weiß was Seite rumsurft und sich dort mit irgendwelchen anderen Damen zu einem bestimmten Produkt, zu irgendeinem Kochrezept etc. austauscht. Wenn wir dann sicherstellen können, mit dem Werbeprodukt, also mit dem Thema Rosenmehl direkt daneben zu erscheinen, ist die Möglichkeit der Conversion deutlich gesteigert. Das Retargeting eben, um halt letztendlich nochmal Learnings über die User an sich zu machen, über die Seiten, auf denen sie surfen und letztendlich die User im weiteren Verlauf möglicherweise nochmal anzusprechen, insofern sie nicht letztendlich das Produkt gekauft haben. Und das Behavior-Thema, eben produktbezogen, diese Behavior-Sachen wurden für diesen Kunden speziell aufgebaut und permanent ausgebaut. Und das ist der nächste Punkt. Das halt eben nach der ganzen, ich sag mal, nach dem Research, das ich auf Kundenebene durchgeführt habe, letztendlich auch in diesem Kunden arbeiten muss. Und bei RTB ist es nicht so, dass man eine Kurve hat, die von oben links nach unten rechts in einem durchgeht, sondern muss permanent an diesem Kunden arbeiten. Nicht alle Targeting-Funktionen, alle Targeting-Lösungen funktioniert auf Anhieb. Es ist ein permanenter Prozess. Und im Gegensatz zur ich sag mal, Netzwerk-Thematik, dass ich halt einen Monat das Netzwerk nutze, am nächsten Monat das Netzwerk nutze. Das funktioniert beim RTB nicht. Man muss sich halt für einen RTB-Dienstleister entscheiden und letztendlich mit dem zusammen an dem Produkt arbeiten, es weiterentwickeln und letztendlich dann irgendwelche Resultate erzielen oder erwirtschaften, die für diesen Kunden letztendlich das darstellen, was er sich wünscht, einen vernünftigen, niedrigen CPA und letztendlich eine Awareness in den Umfeldern, wo er sein möchte. Und eben das soll dieses Chart darstellen. So, das sind die Werte, die letztendlich realisiert werden konnten. Am Schluss der Kampagne hatten wir einen durchschnittlichen CPM von 67 Cent. Warum so niedrig? Weil halt letztendlich diese Seiten, die für den Kunden Premium sind, recht günstig im Einkauf sind. Zum Beispiel über das semantische Targeting sichergestellt, dass wir eben auf den Seiten sind, wo wir halt A, die Zielgruppe erreichen, aber B, halt auch eben günstige Einkaufspreise realisieren können und so halt wir diesen mal etwas teureren Einkauf von gezielten Sites relativieren. Der Cost per Klick für dieses Produkt hat 62 Cent gekostet, ist aber relativ, weil wir hier nicht auf den Klick optimiert haben, sondern eben auf eine Conversion, die am Schluss der Kampagne nach der kompletten Optimierung auf 4,72 € realisiert werden konnte oder sichergestellt werden konnte. Und das ist halt das, was ich sagen möchte. Man muss halt hier wirklich normal rekapitulieren und sich im Kopf behalten, dass wir hier über eine Sache reden, die halt langfristig aufgebaut werden muss. Daten werden nicht von heute auf morgen erfasst, die werden halt langfristig aufgebaut. Entweder ich kaufe sie an, aber auch diese angekauften Daten sind nicht Daten, die irgendwie von heute auf morgen entstanden sind. Auch diese sind halt eben langfristig zusammengefasst worden in etwas älteren Portalen, in mittelalten Portalen. Und letztlich das ist das, womit wir arbeiten. Und das sind die Kunden, mit denen wir das letztendlich umsetzen. Danke.
So, vielen Dank für das Beispiel aus dem lokalen Bereich. Unsere letzte Präsentation wird nochmal eine besondere Challenge. Wir haben im Vorgespräch darüber gesprochen. Du hattest gesagt, Oliver, es ist eine sehr undankbare Aufgabe, die du genommen hast. Du beschäftigst dich nämlich mit Real-Time Branding. So Oliver will now look at Real-Time Branding and how we can realize that.
Danke dir. Ich werde es auch auf Deutsch weitermachen. Hallo zusammen. Ja, undankbare Aufgabe, habe ich nie gesagt. Aber Challenge schon. Thomas sagte, nach allem Blick auf Performance sollten wir in dieser Runde auch mal einen praktischen Blick auf die Branding-Komponente werfen. Wo ist Branding in Europa, in Deutschland, im Real-Time Advertising? Ich glaube, das Wichtigste zu dem Thema ist es, das ganze Real-Time Advertising weiterhin als Weg zu betrachten und nicht als Status-Quo-Betrachtung. Agenturen, Marken, Medien engagieren sich gerade alle gleichzeitig, jedoch einzeln, das Thema Branding nach vorne zu bringen. Realtime Advertising in das Thema Marke rüberzubringen, in das Thema Premium rüberzubringen. Und überall in Europa, meistens innerhalb des IAB, hier BVDW, merken die Player, dass Wertschöpfung nur zusammen funktioniert und nicht alleine, und dass die Sachen zu synchronisieren sind. Und mit dieser Synchronisation auf das Thema Branding ist auch jetzt der Startschuss mittlerweile überall gefallen, Realtime Advertising dorthin zu bringen. Wir sind mit 4 Thesen im letzten Jahr gestartet und man kann sehen, dass, oder jeder, der Diskussion in den letzten Monaten gefolgt ist, kann sehen, dass wir eigentlich stetig zu diesen Themen vorangekommen sind im Markt. Und unsere These, wo wir überzeugt von sind, die 4., dass Realtime Advertising für Branding perspektivisch weitaus spannender noch wird als für Performance, muss man sagen, ist in den Nachbarländern rund um Deutschland weit schneller vorangekommen in den letzten 12 Monaten. Und Deutschland, hoffe ich, steht da kurz vorm Durchbruch. Aber ganz ehrlich, da tun wir uns noch am schwersten mit und ich glaube, das verändert sich. Warum steckt im Branding so viel Potenzial, wenn wir hier auf Realtime Advertising Technologie schauen? Weil dort immer noch eine ganze Menge Effizienzsteigerungspotenzial steckt. Wie diese Studie hier, wo mehrere Cases, wo mehrere Befragungen auf einzelnen Werbetreibenden zusammengefasst sind. Nehmen wir Companion, nehmen wir Nielsen, nehmen wir andere Quellen solcher Studien, die eine mehr oder weniger hohe Zahl an Effizienzsteigerungspotenzial im Display-Advertising ausweisen. Beliebt ist keine dieser Studie. Warum eigentlich? Sie zeigte eigentlich noch, wie viel wichtiger Online-Werbung sein könnte, Display-Advertising sein könnte, wenn wir es schaffen, Mediaplanung granularer, ein ganzes Level tiefer zu bekommen, wenn wir diese Effizienz entfalten können. Dieses Elektronenrastermikroskop des Marketings, das ist doch eigentlich das, was Realtime Advertising Technologie für uns heute gibt. Das müssen wir schaffen, nicht nur für Performance, sondern genauso wie eben bei Sky und KLM vorgestellt, auch für Branding nutzbar zu machen, um da an dieses Potenzial ranzukommen. Derzeit wird im Branding-Bereich Realtime Advertising immer noch mehr auf das Bidding fokussiert. Schade eigentlich, das Thema Selektion und das Thema Kreativität mit den neuen konzeptionellen Möglichkeiten, die mir Technologie bietet, kann dem Branding so viel mehr geben. Ja, wir können, wie hier in dem Preisbeispiel, wir können eine Top-Medienmarke zu attraktiven Preisen auf Top-Werbeträger mittlerweile kriegen. Ja, das geht. Wir können aus einem bestehenden Budget eine größere Reichweite kriegen. Das Thema Kontaktklassenoptimierung ist weitaus spannender im Branding. Hier lässt sich bei weitem mehr rausholen schon. Aber so richtig spannende Cases, wo man sagen kann, wow, Mensch, Wahnsinn, das ist mal Realtime Advertising richtig angewandt, sehen wir eigentlich in Deutschland noch kaum. Und ich glaube, das werden wir in den nächsten 12 Monaten sehen. Es geht um besser, nicht billiger, weil mit dem Thema günstigere TKPs werden wir keine Wertschöpfung erzielen, die nachher für beide Seiten funktioniert. Und wenn es für Medien und Marken nicht gleichermaßen funktioniert, wird es auch keinen Durchbruch in dem Ganzen geben. Wir müssen diese Ebene tiefer, wir müssen effizienter werden und das auch im Branding-Bereich. Wie kann sowas aussehen? Die Markenführer kennen den Sales Funnel des Markenführungsbereichs längst. Der eine oder andere, der im Online-Marketing groß geworden ist, der Native Onliner, ist mit diesen Themen irgendwo nicht ganz in Berührung gekommen, aber das wird jetzt gerade wieder spannender. Der Markenfünfklang von der Markenbekanntheit über das Image, über die Nutzungsbereitschaft, die Anschaffungsplanung und vielleicht sogar eine Markenpräferenz, das ist der Sales Funnel, auf dem wir optimieren wollen, wenn wir im Realtime Advertising das Beste rausholen wollen für ein Markenziel. Und dem Algorithmus ist es am Ende egal, ob er auf einen harten Warenkorbwert optimiert oder ob er auf etwas Weicheres, die weicheren Ziele in der Markenführung, wie beispielsweise eine Anschaffungsplanung, optimiert. Hauptsache, die Information ist digital erfasst und kommt in Echtzeit ins System. 140% Uplift in der Anschaffungsplanung im Vergleich zur Kontrollgruppe. Das ist das, was die Mediamess-Kollegen in den USA für ein OTC-Pharmaprodukt hinbekommen haben. Und ich glaube, sowas kann sich sehen lassen. Hier optimiert der Algorithmus auf Markenwerte. Hier sind wir noch weit weg von der Entfaltung dieser Effizienzsteigerungspotenziale, die wir vorher gesehen haben, aber das ist schon mal der richtige Weg. Ups. Wie funktioniert sowas? Und damit auch das letzte Chart. Ganz praktisch, wie funktioniert sowas? Begleitend zur Kampagne läuft eine simple Marktforschung. Die Marktforschung greift die User ab, die das gewünschte Antwortverhalten zeigen und macht diese Nutzer zum Prototypen, um Nutzer zu identifizieren, die, genauso wie wir es gerade eben im Performance-Bereich gesehen haben, die das Potenzial haben, genau in diese gleiche Klasse zu fallen. Beispiel Anschaffungsplaner. So wird der Algorithmus weiterhin darauf optimiert, das Branding-Budget auf potenzielle Anschaffungsplaner zu bündeln und nicht in die Breite auszustreuen und nicht auf Annahmen, wie es in der klassischen Mediaplanung nach Marktforschungskennzahlen bislang geschehen ist. Das finden wir sehr, sehr spannend. Es kommen eine ganze Menge andere spannende Dinge fürs Branding in den nächsten Wochen und Monaten, auch hier in Deutschland, was uns noch einen Durchbruch bringen wird. Zum einen die Einigung der 3 Seiten Marken, Medien, Agenturen wird eine Menge bewirken, aber auch auf der Datenseite wird in den nächsten Tagen und Wochen einiges passieren, was für Branding mehr Möglichkeiten schafft. Und so freue ich mich auf viele spannende Cases in den nächsten Monaten aus dem Branding-Segment. Lassen Sie uns dazu in Kontakt bleiben. Danke.
So, talking about difficult challenges, we've got 5 minutes left. We have 8 panelists and shall have a discussion now about the future of RTB. I will try to maximize the value based on the topic we wanted to discuss here, and that's best practices. And I would like to ask every panelist one major question. And the major question is, what was the most important optimization you did within your campaigns, within the examples, what was most surprising, what gave the most value to you, so that the people in the audience have the possibility to use these insights and to optimize their own campaigns. I think that would be a good value to use these 5 minutes. Who wants to start? Who has a very interesting, maybe surprising insight he wants to share with us? Rupert, you want to start?
I'd like to get my campaign manager to do that. But I think one thing we've learned is not to actually advertise in the main season. It's like, for example, around about Christmas, it's like where there's the main shopping season. It's like what Ollie also said, it's not about the cheap price. We actually noticed that the CPMs really went up, because in the end, if you're selling a service, you always have competitors selling that service, but you're aiming for the same final consumer. So we noticed that basically anti-cyclical advertising actually makes sense, even for products which you think don't sell so well in the summer. So that's one learning we've taken, not to actually run huge campaigns always in the main selling season.
Okay, I have to think about what's the important ones.
Be straight.
Yeah, the main thing or the main point is that not all products work in the RTB area, and sometimes it makes more sense to spend more budgets in product or in advertisements like TV to support these campaigns, and don't have too high expectations in RTB, because RTB is not a final solution for everything. RTB is one part of the online marketing market, and has to be part of a complete plan. So today we heard RTB is a perfect product to make some display advertising and switch off all other marketing strategies. As I said, RTB is only one part, and it has to be in website optimization. It has to be part of. It has to be part in website optimization. The SEM has to be nearly perfect. SEO, TV, as said, radio, maybe newspapers, whatever.
So be careful when to use RTB and when not to use it. So, interesting insight. Who wants to share some insight with us?
Yeah. I think we've seen in the past year that we worked with many suppliers in the same market. And Rupert already touched upon this quickly, but it was quite significant for us to, let's say, understand the landscape, and that doing the same job within the same market with multiple players, it's not always a good idea. Because it used to be like that. You used to have networks, and one network would have this part of the inventory, another network would have that part of the inventory, and it would be complementary. But now is actually a lot of overlap. And it's important to understand the landscape and make a choice for a single supplier or two suppliers, and they are not competing with each other. So that's a huge efficiency gain. Yeah. Actually, I'll give the mic back to you.
Here's one.
Yeah. So.
Shall I carry on?
Yeah, carry on.
The most exciting news and learning was how exciting the Facebook ad exchange has been when it has been added last year. The tremendous reach and the new possibility to go into Facebook by retargeting and post-backing campaigns. That was really an exciting moment. We are now able, since yesterday, to use Facebook ad exchange also for dynamic banner ads. That's a huge, great new play field, and that's something that was the greatest in the last months.
All right. Anyone else? Thomas told me I have to be in time, so one last statement about best practices we should know.
Okay. Funny thing is that you spoke about campaign managers. We at Rocket Fuel would say that's machines programmed with artificial intelligence. We don't need any campaign manager. That's first. And the second, I also wanted to touch base with Facebook Exchange, because even it's Facebook site, because it's not an exchange, it's just a single site. And since we got that inventory, more or less in users that were not available in the German market, we see really this is a big home turf to grow and to even exceed the given targets.
Even if I have to be in time, I want to know some insights from the UK at least.
Okay. Yeah. I wouldn't say exciting, but I think one thing to take away and one thing that we've learned is that a lot of the points have come out already. Form partnerships with people. Trust is very important. When you're using data, you need to be able to trust the partners that you're working with. Yeah. And it doesn't stop with RTB. It doesn't give you the answer. Actually, it provides you with a great opportunity. And the next step is to really understand that data. And I feel you need human insight to interpret that data and then put the right messages and the right creative and the right landing pages in front of people. So the data is one part. That gives you the platform. You then have to take that on, and then from there you can really get granular and really get an understanding of your customers and how they interact with your brands.
You want to finish up?
Yeah, just to add to this, in our view, RTB is not about having a machine where you insert a campaign with a certain campaign goal, and then after 2 or 3 weeks you have an output of a perfect campaign. It's about analyzing what is coming, or analyzing the information that you get from a campaign, and have a good team of people working on it. So data is of course key, but also the people who can work with the data.
Yeah. So Thomas gave us a little extension and allowed one question from the audience. So who's the one who wants to give the one important question to the panel? I will just come down, and it's got to make a challenge. Who wants to ask a question? Yeah, that was too difficult challenge, so I think we will move on to the next presentation. Thank you very much for my panelists, and a small applause for the panelists, please.